Yo, what's going on, beautiful world? I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Hip Hop Corner. I got the homie Jada, Sean on the line. What's happening, Sean?
Dude, man. The
Yeah,
picture.
Sean out here, he rocking that bullshit ass shirt. So I'm gonna give him a couple updates during the game, just to make things interesting here on the pod today. Um, so what's going on, man? How's the weekend?
Man, I had took it easy this weekend, man. I actually went to some fishing. Went fishing on the weekend on Saturday. Me and
Oh,
my
that's
pops, man, went and did some fishing on Saturday, man. So just took
what
it, man.
what you catch?
Man, I caught a bunch of brims, caught a mudfish, the usual. Like that, snatching them out the water. I was the only one that caught fish, and no one else caught anything. I was just out there, yank, 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 pulling them out.
Here we go, man. Here we go. We got to start early. God damn. Hey, but before we get into it, man, we got a couple birthday shout outs to jump into, so I'm gonna let you go ahead and hit the birthday shout outs, man.
Yeah, man. So shout out to our homie Merv, man. Today's Merv's 40th birthday. He's in Cabo right now, living it up, doing his thing. You all who follow us, you probably seen like a million pictures of Merv, the countdown. The students start the countdown, like I think on at
I He was like 48 hours to my birthday,
yeah,
47 hours to 40,
yeah,
40 and 40. Like I was like, all right, okay.
40 and 40 in Cabo. And then he was like he was
Oh, he started doing the shimmy. How they do it?
so
Oh, you ain't shit.
shout out to Merv, man. His 40th birthday, man. Enjoy yourself, homie, out there in Cabo. Be careful out there because you got to check that Adam's apple, man. Make sure you got it out. Don't get too drunk. You can't do this against that neck. So be careful.
Man, don't do him like that, man. Merv cool. Merv know how to check.
I hope so. When he get the alcohol in him, man, he may forget. Yeah, he may try to climb that tree and head across a branch. But yo, also shout out to my father, man. My father's birthday is today as well.
Happy birthday, pops.
Indeed, indeed. I went fishing with him on Saturday. Hit him up earlier today. Father, yo, salute to my dad. 59 years young, man. 59. Still think he can play basketball and everything, man. But shout out
So
to my
now we know where his son get it from. Shit.
yeah, I'm a beast. So he's washed up.
So we got a couple things we gonna jump in tonight. For the people that's tuned in that don't know, once again before I go forward, I want to say thank you to everybody tuned in on Facebook Live, everybody tuned in on YouTube Live. I want to thank everybody that's tuning in right now on Zingo TV. That's the app. We're on channel 199. All you got to do is go to your app store. It doesn't matter whether it's Apple, doesn't matter whether it's Android. Go download Zingo TV. Once you got download Zingo TV, you're gonna go to channel 199. That's where you can catch us at. Also, you can catch us on One Mile High Radio Network. Same thing. Go to the internet, download the app, and there you go. You got us. So tonight, though, we got a couple things that we're gonna talk about tonight. We're gonna talk about Benny the Butcher. If you don't know, I ain't gonna say if you don't know because I know y'all tuned in to see us a lot, and we talk about Griselda real heavy. So Benny the Butcher is one third of the super group Griselda, and I am going to call them a super group because that's exactly what they are. We're going to talk about them, and then we're going to talk about Jada Kiss, and we're going to talk about J Cole. Tell the people what we're talking about when it comes to Jada and Cole, man.
So if you guys been following us, Dre and I did a battle a couple of months ago, man. During the time verses were just kicking off, and we did a battle where we switched it up. I'm a big Jada fan, of course, and Dre is a big Cole fan. So we decided to switch it up where I took Cole and he took Jada. And that was actually one of our best battles. We had three signature battles, and this is one of those signature battles that we had. It's actually one of the battles that got us launched into Zingo TV as well. That along with the Pharrell and Timbaland joint. Those were the ones that got us that hookup with the Zingo TV. But anyhow, when we did the battle, afterwards we kind of reconvened and started talking about what Jada Kiss brought and what J. Cole brought. And we both felt like we had some heat. We were going toe to toe, round for round with some heat between Jada and J. Cole. No one thought that doing a mix between Jada and Cole would make sense. But after we did it, it made a lot of sense. And we got a lot of kudos for that. But during those conversations, we talked about the fact that Jada and Cole never really had that signature classic album. So tonight we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whether Jada Kiss is legitimately a top 5 dead or alive artist? And if not, we're going to talk about that. And if so, we're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about J. Cole because we feel like J. Cole has dropped some great music, dropped some great heat, some great albums, etc. But is he really in that top echelon when we can consider him on the level of the public look at as Kendrick Lamar or Drake or anyone of that ilk? So we're going to talk about that tonight as well. But before we get into that, we want to get into this Benny the Butcher album. Butcher coming.
The Butcher is coming. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
gonna let you start it off because the Butcher is coming. He said it best, man. Go ahead, do your thing.
Man, first of all, I want to give a shout out to my homie, man. His name is Jordan Foggy. Jordan is a young guy, man. He actually put me on Griselda about a year and a half ago. He was like, "Yo, I know you love hip hop, and I know you hip old school guy, but you need to check out Griselda." And I remember listening to that first Griselda joint he gave me, and I was like, "Yeah, this is like me. This is what I represent." And I got to shout out to that kid, man, because Jordan's about in his mid-20s. But for him to put me on Griselda, you know what I mean? And Jordan's from Greenville, South Carolina. I'm sorry, from Spartanburg, South Carolina. But he was fucking with Griselda over a year and a half, 2 years ago. He put me on it. So shout out to Jordan Foggy for that. Because since he put me on that, I was on Griselda hard. You guys know every year, for the past, 3 years now, Dre, Griselda has been dropping nothing but heat. I mean, these guys are dropping like 3 to 4 albums a pop.
It's not a flop yet.
It hasn't flopped yet.
It's not a flop yet.
We were waiting for Benny to drop something like this because I always liken, as of late, I was liking Griselda to the Locks. And because of that energy that they brought. And I always think that Benny is being that Jada Kiss of the Locks because, yo, what up, Jordan? You out there, homie? Yeah. Yeah, much love to you, homie. You put me on that shit and I'm rocking it since. So I salute to you, my dude, for real. Jordan got a good ear for music, man. Really good ear for music. But
I mean, if Jordan, if he like that, I mean, send him the link. He can jump on right now. He can talk about Benny the Butcher with us real quick.
yeah, Jordan,
See what he talking.
if you want to hop on, man, comment. We'll hop. You might be at work. Jordan work in the hospital, man. If you're not at work, Jordan, hop on with us, man. Send us a note that you're good. If you want to hop on, we'll send you the link. You can hop on and talk about this Benny the Butcher album as well. Just let us know. But yeah, so I liken him, Benny the Butcher, to like a Jadakiss because I felt that he was the one that could bridge the gap between everything. No doubt, homie. I see you. No doubt. He said he's busy right now, but I felt like Benny was the one that could transition Griselda into the mainstream, but not too mainstream to the point where they lose what they have. So I always thought that he was the Jadakiss of the Griselda camp because you got Conway, who is that gritty like Styles P, but you also got my man Westside Gunn, who has like the elements of both sides, if you ask me. And if I'm not mistaken, Westside Gunn actually executive produces the album as well. You can see his imprint all over this album because Westside Gunn knows how to put together a song. And that's what Benny, I felt like that's what we needed from Benny. So I was anticipating this album because I felt like if Benny's going to put together an album, we need to hear complete songs. And he delivered. And the biggest thing to me, Dre, and I don't know if you picked up on this, but Hit Boy is on a massive run right now. Hit Boy is on a ridiculous run. This is Hit Boy's third installment. He dropped King's Disease. He dropped Detroit 2 with Big Sean. And now this. Hit Boy is knocking it out of the park. When he came through and you gotta think about it, today's hip-hop, you don't get just one producer producing a whole album. Hit Boy has done 3 back-to-back albums in less than a month and a half, and they all hit. And this Benny album, starting out a Burden of Proof, he came out the gate swinging. Then you get Lil Wayne on there. Then you get my man Freddie Gibbs on there. Then you get you got the Rick Ross verse on there. I mean, dude, I gotta kick it to you because I'm getting a little too pumped up right now.
Nah, man, I'm gonna echo everything you said, but then I'm gonna go a different route. When we talked a couple weeks ago about just Griselda as a whole, I was telling everybody Benny is my favorite of the three. Even though Conway is is creeping up, Benny is still my favorite at the moment. And this album, he kind of solidified that spot for a couple more fucking projects that they may drop. So, and then I realized, just listening to it again today, what I realized is Benny, and you ain't gonna like this, but Benny has like a Jay-Z type vibe. He still talk that greedy shit, for the most part, but he'll sprinkle a little smooth in there.
Yeah,
He went the chef route when he talked. He did the song about his mama and stuff. So he brought different elements, and it's still '90s. Like even when you listen to the fact that he got Pain in the Ass on there, the guy that do the Jay-Z joints at the beginning of the album, he'd be like, "Oh, now you got to call Jay-Z." Like he got Pain in the Ass on there. I
yeah,
couldn't tell whether it was the mad rapper or the mad producer, but he got one of them cats in there, and
yeah,
so it just brought the '90s feel full circle. And so
yeah.
I think that's why we like it so much.
You're
I
right.
don't want it to be that because they are new to the game, and I want them to get credit for doing their own thing. But I
Right.
still feel like the '90s vibe is what we really love and we dig from these cats. Even if you go back, we talked about it. How they always have the NWO or the NWA or whatever the case may be, they have those little references in their rhymes. That's
Right.
another thing that's going to take you back to the '90s. And it's just going to give you that little nostalgia feel. But they kicking you with today's rhymes. And then, like you said, the features on there was placed very well. Hit Boy knew exactly who he needed to reach out to. And then once again, me and you was talking about it before we got on. I keep telling people, Big Sean be stealing shows, and Big Sean stole the show on that fucking track. When he got on,
Yeah,
he stole the show, and he really showed up big time.
yeah.
And then another thing that I really appreciate about this album was the lack of Griselda being on it. So,
Because
Westside Gunner, I think, is on two, and Conway is only on one.
now West is on. They on that one song together. West
Yeah, where it's them three. Yeah,
and West really didn't even rap. He just did like the chorus. He
yeah,
he did the hook. He did the hook. And that's why I loved it because he's part of Griselda, but he didn't lean on a heavy Griselda featuring album. And I was listening to some of his interviews today, and he was saying that his influence is Raekwon. And he said, I thought about it, like, damn, he's right. I can see some Raekwon in there. I can see some young Raekwon in there. And then he also said that he had some deep conversations with Jay-Z. And to your point, I can see that early Jay-Z, that cocaine flow Jay-Z back then, when
yeah,
he was in that different mode. You know what I mean? So I can definitely see that. And the thing about with Benny ain't no young dude. You know what I mean? Benny 35. So he still come from that era where, when everyone was rocking Timbs and hoodies. And even though it has a 90s style, a 90s flavor, it sounds so modern. And I give that credit to Hit Boy. Because again, go back and listen to Detroit too, if you haven't listened to it already, Big Sean, where Hit Boy produced that album as well. Hit Boy is on a roll. And I'm talking about the way he's putting the songs together, the way he's finding these features to fit the artist. Like you said, you would not think that a Rick Ross and a Benny the Butcher song would hit like that. And it did. And Lil Wayne had to step his game up on Thomas. And he still got outshined by Big Sean and by
yeah.
Benny.
I really wasn't feeling his verse on that, but I haven't been feeling Wayne verses for a while. But
Yeah.
like I said, Big Sean was just on a different. Big Sean is a different animal.
Yeah.
Not to take us away from what we're talking about, but y'all need to go listen to Detroit. Like Big Sean is on a he's
He's
on a different wavelength right now, and
much.
it's gonna take something like the BS that I say BS. I ain't gonna necessarily say it's BS, but the joint where he was like, hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up, and that's what got him popping. Like it's gonna take something like that for
Yeah.
him to put out and people listen to it and then decide, hey, we need to give Big Sean his credit.
Yeah.
Uh, I know me and you that year that we never met up or anything, but we was both at one music fest.
Yeah.
That is the first time I had actually checked Big Sean out because the crowd went like berserk when he was on stage, and it was a scene to
Yep.
have your eyes feast upon. So Big Sean is really tearing it up. But yeah, you're right, man. I think this album speaks to Hit Boy, and that's no discredit to Benny because Benny
Back,
still had to come in and lay those verses down and actually put some tough ass words together. But
back,
the fact that he was able to get Rick Ross, that's all Hit Boy. The fact that he was able to get Wayne and Sean, that's all Hit Boy. So I think having Hit Boy do the entire album, that gave him a different lane that he could go in, and it's a lane that's going to be appreciated to people who listen to it.
backs. I think that Hit Boy is going to get a certain type of pedigree credit at this point based on the fact that he's dropped 3 consecutive bangers from 3 different artists with 3 different styles, if that makes sense. And he
Yeah,
was able to create something without failing the people. Because I remember when everyone was talking about this Benny album coming out, the concern was, can Benny make a song? Can he make a complete song for an entire album? Can every song be a complete song? Because you're so used to hearing Benny. Benny dropped like 3 records like last year, like 3 records, and they were all like mistake vibe, and it was just him getting off. But we wanted to see if Benny could structure a song with hooks, with the lines, with the bars, everything adding up, and you can tell Hit Boy is like the conductor. Because if you go back, I'm be honest with you, man. Again, don't want to reference Nas again, but when I listened to this album, I had to go back and listen to King's Disease, and I had to go back and listen to Detroit too. And I'm like, this is exactly what Kanye probably tried to do when he was dropping the album like every week. I think it was 2 years ago. He did
yeah.
Pusha T. He did,
Tiana Taylor, Nas.
yeah,
Yeah.
all those guys. Hit Boy is doing this effortlessly. And every album takes on a persona of that artist. And I think this album really takes on a persona of Benny, straight up.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You got to it before me. I think this is where Kanye was trying to go, but then
Mm-hmm.
two, I think this is just a point where the pupil was able to take in the teachings and exceed what the teacher was able to do.
Absolutely.
Because, and that's the difference between what Hit Boy is doing and what other producers are doing. Other producers, they come in and they're just going to give you the beat and say, hey, you might want to do this, you might want to do that. And they're going to put it together however you want to do it. But
Right.
what Kanye and Hit Boy are doing is they're, like you said, they're conducting their music. They're
Right.
placing you where they want you to go, and they're
Right.
making it fire. So
Make it
Hit Boy has learned, he's put it to the test, and now he's coming out, and he's coming out on top, plain and simple. And I think now he's creating a different lane than what most producers are able to do.
right.
You're not going to be able to call Hit Boy up and say, yo, I want to smash from you. Like,
Nah,
nah, you're going to get this whole album or you ain't going to get shit. Like, which way you
right.
going to go with it?
Right. He's not giving you the stems anymore. He has to take control of everything at this point because everything he's touched so far from these incredible artists, it has been golden. And the good thing about this album, man, the good thing about this album is it's a complete album, 12 bangers, and it goes hard throughout the entire album, right? Here's the thing that concerns me, that I'm worried about. I'm be honest, and this is no hating. I know Stax is a big Eminem fan. I'm concerned about Griselda dropping their next album on the Shady roster. I'm concerned about that. And here's why. Because I don't want them to get away from who they are. And I fear that Shady would take away some of that. I don't want to hear an Eminem beat with Griselda rapping over top of Eminem beat. That's not who they are.
You don't think he learned from, damn, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on the group, but with Cricket Eye, Joel Ortiz, and Joe Button, you don't think he learned from that? Oh, and not forget Royce Five Nine, he was in the group as
Slaughter,
well. Huh?
Slaughterhouse, right?
Yeah, Slaughterhouse. You don't think he learned from Slaughterhouse?
I
Because I
don't
think that was the problem when it came to Slaughterhouse. Like to have those talent, like the shit they would drop some shit, and you just be like, whoa. But then when the album came forth, it wasn't what we was getting beforehand.
and that's why I'm concerned because I don't think it was a learning thing for them. I just think it wasn't a good marriage. I think that when you look at the Griselda imprint and you got Hit Boy on Benny, that's a perfect marriage. to me because Hit Boy brought out those elements of Benny that we wanted to see. That as a fan, we knew he could do, but we want to make sure he can do it. And I think Hit Boy was the one that structured that. I don't think Eminem executive producer. I don't know if he's going to executive produce it or he just getting behind it. I don't know if he could bring that out the group itself. Now he may give total control to West Side Gun because I think West Side Gun is the one who kind of orchestrates things within the group because he's the most seasoned one as well. But I'm concerned about that. I'm not going to front. I'm really concerned about that because I don't want us to have a Griselda album that sounds like a shady, not even aftermath, but just a shady, canon album, if that makes sense.
No, I got what you said. I would say that my concern is the appeal of popping on the commercial level. And I think that's what's going to happen when you deal with somebody like Eminem, somebody who's selling platinum with garbage.
Garbage.
So it's going to come off as like, hey, yeah, nah, 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 nah. And he was like, stacks, 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 stacks. So I see problems. That's where I see the problem is trying to be commercially appealing so they can get a couple more dollars, as opposed to just staying where you at, stay in your lane, and pop that way. I feel like it's going to eventually come. I don't feel like it's there where it should be.
Right.
But I feel like that about a lot of artists. There's a lot of artists I feel like should be up here, but aren't. And, that's just because I don't think they want to succumb to the pressures of being almost pop.
Definitely.
You don't have to be radio to succeed in this game.
Definitely. Absolutely. Man, nonetheless, the album is dope. I listened to it all weekend, vibing to it all weekend. Listen to it some more this week, of course. I think that I want more. I want to hear more, of course. Hearing Conway on this makes me feel like Conway is in a groove right now. And if rappers are not careful, Conway is going to pass a lot of your great rappers up. A lot of your favorite rappers about to get lapped by Conway because Conway is coming. I think that his bars on top of bars right now are ridiculous. I mean, he got the double conundrum going on. I mean, he right now Conway is in a groove. Benny, of course, impressed me. I knew it was going to happen. I knew it was just a matter of time. And I think that when we hear another joint from Griselda, I think it's all going to come together perfectly. I really do. So I'm looking forward to what else they got in store. It might be the last album they drop for the year, but I would not be surprised if they drop another one or two.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think so. I think they might drop a mixtape or something, but I'm pretty sure they won't fumble the opportunity the way Zeke fumbling right now. But
come on, man, dude, don't do that.
That's neither here nor there.
Don't for real.
That's neither here nor there. But you said something earlier that I was thinking also. I liken them to the Locks as well, and I want to know though, before we start talking about Jada and Cole, is it going to be a situation where now we're looking for them and it's going to fall, and then they only have great individual? Because I think that's the problem with the Locks. I think the Locks have great individual performances, but when you put them all on an entire album together, it never comes around the right way. They've only had one CD that I thought was just absolutely hard. That's the one that came out a couple years ago. It had a couple slacker tracks, and like they had one with Gucci on there, but I didn't. That's the only album of entirety that I like from the Locks. So I think I don't. That's what I don't want to have happen with Griselda.
Right, and I don't think if they stick to their recipe right now, I don't think it would happen. That's my only concern. If they stick to it and don't get too commercial, Stacks, I agree. I think that to me the Locks, and I jump into this with Jada. To me, and I love the Locks. The Locks is one of my favorite groups, but I've always felt that the Locks has never ever dropped that signature classic album. I just feel like they haven't dropped that album that make you say, yo, the Locks is it. You know what I'm saying? I think that their reputation is what keeps them relevant because their last album, Dre, I'm not going to front. I get an album one spin, and I struggled. I was like, oh, come on,
I'm
no.
glad you said this while we on air because when I was saying that, you was like, nah, this you ain't gonna get the same locks you got years ago. Like I know that, but that shit just wasn't. It just wasn't the one for me. Or as the kids say, that ain't it.
That ain't it, man. I was disappointed. And I don't think that Griselda has that in them because their hunger is different. I think that you got someone like Conway, you got someone like West Side, and you got Benny. I think these guys, they've been in the game for a long time in a cut, just listening and watching and learning. They didn't start out as young as the Locks did. So they kind of carve out their own lane. They're keeping things gritty. They're not succumbing to the hippie songs, you know what I mean? And that to me, that's important. You know what I mean? That's very important. You got to be able to grow, but you have to grow in your own lane. And I think with the Locks, they had some songs on that album that I felt they shouldn't have had it. You know, they had like an R&B type of cut on there. It was weird, man. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to hear that from the Locks. Come on,
I
Sheik.
I think that's all of their albums though. If you go back to Money, Power, Respect, of course they didn't have as much control because of who they were under. So he had a lot of control. And so, of course, Puffy is going to take you to a different route because Puffy is not he's about the music, but he's not necessarily about the music.
Right,
Puffy is about selling the records.
right,
Um,
right.
Whatever we go through, that's what he's just going to be. And then I think when it comes to We Are the Streets, it was we gotta be hard. And I think it was like oversaturation of trying to be hard. And I
Right.
think so with those two things, it just didn't work out.
Because if you think about We Are the Streets, they were so focused on going at Puffy, like every song on there was dissing Puffy. You know
Right.
what I mean? And you had Swizz Beats, who was on the, he was producing it. You had Timbaland, Ride or Die. I hated that song. I thought that song was like trash. I'm not going front, but I mean, it just, it, and again, I'm a Locks fan, so this is tough for me to say it. I just feel that the Locks never reach the goals that they could have. You know what I mean? As far as being solidified, you know, overall group that we look at top five. I think the top five potential was there, but I don't think they ever hit top five as a group.
That's the crazy thing. And just talking about it, it's just making me wonder, like being honest, when I think about it, we shouldn't like the Locks. If we being honest,
You're right,
like the Locks shouldn't be a favorite, although they are a favorite of mine. The
right,
lock shouldn't be a favorite of anyone.
right.
You can go individually. I always said, I tell people all the time, I think Sheik is vastly underrated. We
There,
know that Jada goes in. We know that Styles go in. I feel like Sheik really, really goes in. I think at any given day that you can place any one of them as the better one of the group. But as far as if we talking about locks, we should not be biggest fans of the locks as we are.
right. But why is that? Why do we consider the Locks as the Locks? Why do we like look at the Locks as yo, those are the
I'm
Locks, that's the Locks. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna say it's a combination one of potential. I think that's the biggest thing. We all know that the potential is there, and we know it's there because of what we heard on other things. Like when you hear John Blaze, when you put them with these other cats and they're demolishing shit, we know that we should be getting something greater from them. When you hear John Blaze, or when you hear Band from TV,
Right.
or when you hear them, what else they stepped on? The joint with
I mean,
damn, I
all
forget.
about the Benjamins.
Yeah, that facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Even Puffy verse, that alone is like shit. Puffy
Yeah.
got off on that verse. That's Sheik's verse. If you don't know,
Yeah.
I so it's just little shit like that, man. Like, and then the crazy shit is Sheik didn't even like the verse. That's why Puffy got it because he didn't like the verse. And Missy Elliott is the one that was like, "Nah, that shit fire. You got to use that shit."
Right.
But
Right.
Puffy really got off on that verse, and it's
Right.
things like that that makes us say, nah, the lock's supposed to be here. But then also it's things like when you hear them, like I don't know how I ended up. That's what it was. Sheik dropped Beast Mode 4 on Friday, so I was listening to Beast Mode 4, and it went into the radio of everything after the album had played, and it was just like so much shit I forgot. Like,
Right.
yo, like when they was going at 50, like
That was the best run.
right when they was going at 50, or when they was going at fucking beans, you know what I'm saying? Like, or to get on the track with Jay-Z and be a youngster, and you dropping subliminals about Jay on his own album, like shit like that. It says you're supposed to be great.
He's supposed to be great. But again, it goes back to that signature classic album. If you don't have a signature classic album, it's hard to say that you can be good, right? And you could be on the cusp of being great, but you cannot be considered one of the greatest of all time. Because I think in hip hop, I do feel in hip hop, I don't think there is no GOAT. I think there are several GOATs. I think that there are several great artists out there. And you'll bust your brain trying to figure out who is the creme of the creme, who is the actual GOAT. Because I think everyone who, you got your top three, the top, the five or whatever, the Mount Rushmore, if you will. But you can argue that with anyone else from a different region. You know what I mean? You can put Scarface in your Rushmore and have a valid argument. You know what I mean? So
Facts.
I think that, because to consider them one of the greats when it comes down to having a group, it's hard for me to put them there. And I give you an example. If you go back and you listen to their first album, and you go back and listen to We Are the Streets, there was a big gap before their third album, right? We took the third album a couple of years ago. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it came out like 20, I want to say 17 or something like that.
17. And that wasn't, it wasn't like a knock you out the
I
park.
like that album, man. I thought that album was dope.
No,
I thought that was their best album.
it was good, but it didn't like knock you out the park good. You know what I mean? Like, this is the signature classic. But if you look at another group, let's go to Mobb Deep, right? Mobb Deep, you go back and listen to Murder Music. Murder Music is that signature classic album that Mobb Deep has. Although they have the infamous, they have Hell on Earth. When they drop Murder Music, that was the album that made people say, okay, Mobb Deep is one of the greats at this point. Not just because of, Quiet Storm. That was a big reason for it, but that was an overall dope album. That was, from front to back, that was a dope album. I don't think we got that from the Lox. I don't think the Lox had that signature album, and that makes me transition over to Jada now, because this pains me. You know what I mean? You saw the plaque I showed you, and it was, the middle name was Jada. You know what I mean? When I was in Japan, and
Hey, Sean was in Japan stealing people money, talking about he was Jada Kiss.
that
And
was,
Sean would go on stage and
yeah,
lip sync. I ain't gonna tell nobody else.
I always say I was Jada Kiss. They don't do that. That was my nickname over there, Jada. Um, do you think Jada Kiss have a classic album?
Absolutely not. I'm gonna be honest. I only really listened to Kiss the Game Goodbye. The Last Kiss is okay. After that, Top Five Dead or Alive has some tracks. Um, I know me and you talked about this extensively. I just don't think Jada has it. He's a featured artist, but his features are so tough that he can say something and you can kind of go with it. Like he can say I'm top five dead off a lot or live that's off one LP. Like he can say shit like that because his features are so tough and he's really gritty and he's really gonna give you some straight up bars and you can actually think about maybe it's true, although it's not true in my opinion, but I still love Jada. And that's going to be the problem is he can't put together an album. And I think to speak to your point, when you was talking about Mobb Deep, if you think about everybody that was great as a unit, you had Mobb Deep, you had Outkast, you had Run DMC. Something that people take for granted with all three of those, they really generally had one producer.
Right.
So Havoc, he ran Mobb Deep. With Outkast, it was the Dungeon Family. They did all of that, and then with Run DMC, it was mainly Rick Rubin. So, or even LL's DJ came in and did a couple, to keep it that funky side, cut creator.
Right.
So, but that's what they were stuck with. Well, I ain't gonna say stuck with, but that's how they was able to hone their sound, and you could get that going all the way forward. Whereas the Locks, they always had some different shit. You know what I'm saying? Like they had different people in the pool, and I think that also had a lot to do with it. And it's the same thing with Jada.
And threw it off. It's not often you can get a collection of producers to put together a classic album
Yeah.
because the direction is going to be different. There was only one artist, actually the first artist who ever done that. Do you know who that is? The first artist who ever had, the first rap artist who ever had the collection of producers on one album, who started that trend. You know who that was?
No, tell me.
It was Nas. Illmatic.
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
first album that had a collection of producers to produce one hip hop album. And after that, it became a trend. If you go back and you listen to Wu Tang, the first wave, when RZA produced everything on the first wave. Think about how great Wu Tang was in that first wave because RZA had total control of everything, total control, and it came out better. And this goes back to our Benny the Butcher album, right? Hit Boy, total control of the album. It was the cohesion of that album was so well placed, it made sense, right? And if you go back and you listen to Jada, Kiss the Game Goodbye, which is my personal favorite album, is it a classic? Not really. Is it great? Yes, I think it's a great album, but it's not a classic album. But you got Timbaland on it, you got Swizz, you got Dame Grease, I believe, is on it. You got Premier, you got a lot of producers on there where you can see how every song the song kind of bounce around. It bounced around a lot. And there's not cohesion where from the beginning to the end, you can kind of sense where he's going with that album. And that's why I felt like Kiss the Game Goodbye lacks the ability to be a certified classic, in my opinion. It's a great album, one of my favorites, personal favorites. I love that album, but I don't consider it as a worldwide favorite.
But I think Kiss had blah 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 blah. Kiss has so many classic moments though,
Right,
and I think that's what keep us afloat. Upon him, and I would say the same thing with Styles. You know, Sheik always said, I messed up because I wasn't into all that stuff, so I just wanted to do the group albums, and that's why we don't get all those classic moments with Sheik.
right,
But Styles and Kiss, they have so many classic moments, and that's what makes you say, nah, Kiss is that guy. Kiss can spit. Styles is that guy. Styles can spit, and that's why I feel like that's maybe why we also place the Locks up so high is
I
because
agree.
we do know that they have so many classic moments and they have so many timeless moments. Um, and then they do have a little bit of radio appeal. Like if you listen to like why was very radio influenced and it was heavy. Um, I don't know about up top, but I know down bottom, like the joints that they jumped on Lil Jon with, like heavy rotation on the radio down south. So you just had shit like that, and that makes it easier for us to just be like, nah, Kiss is dope. Kiss is that guy. Kiss is top five dead or alive, and we can listen to that shit and we can believe it. But Kiss doesn't have a classic album at
He
all.
does. So does that make him top five dead or alive?
In my opinion, he's not top five, but I have no issue with no one putting him in the top five. But he would, I would say Kiss is in my top 10
Okay.
because we talk, you and I, we look at music different, and I'm listening solely to lyrics. I
Right.
want you to be able to put some shit together and make it pop, but lyrics comes first. And so because I'm of the breed of it's the A&R's job to make the album pop because the
Right.
A&R is supposed to give you the correct beats and give you the correct flow. And I think also that's why this last album with Benny hit so well because he had an A&R that was also producing. So I just think maybe that's a route that Kiss should look at. Kiss should look at getting with one producer, and I would challenge him to get with a unknown producer. Like it don't need to be
Right.
Swiss, it don't need to be Hit Boy. It need to be somebody who's gonna give you some real gutter and that's hungry because they're gonna give you their best effort, and then I promise you, Kiss will shine.
He was shine, absolutely. So with that said, J. Cole. So I know you're a huge J. Cole fan. I'm a big fan of mixtape Cole. You know what I mean? Friday Night Lights. I
Mhm.
love that joint. I love, if you notice in the battle, I played a lot of joints from that, from that mixtape run. I felt that Forest Hill album to me, that was his signature album for me, to be quite honest. It wasn't.
I I
It
think
wasn't quite.
that's a damn near classic. I
It's
listen, man. That
it's
shit is.
it's close. It's close. I just wish that he would get the same respect that they gave Kendrick and they gave Drake, because in my opinion,
He's
Cole
better.
to me is better than Kendrick. In my opinion, I think Cole is way better than Kendrick. In my opinion, I think Cole is right there behind Drake, only because Drake is a different. Drake is a little different. All right, people can hate on Drake all they want. They can say he's sing or whatever, he's soft or whatever, but Drake make hits, and Drake knows exactly how to make hits, and he know where to go with it. Whereas Cole is more of your rapper's rapper. All right, Cole is an MC. He's all for the music. He doesn't care about, radio spins. He really doesn't care about that. Cole only cares about giving you some good music. I do think that if you listen to Cole and you listen to Kendrick, in my opinion, Cole to me gives me more of that fulfilling feel than a Kendrick does. And I don't think it's not a West Coast, East Coast thing or whatever at all. I just always felt that early Kendrick, before everybody thought that he was the shit, early Kendrick to me was the best Kendrick. You know what I mean? Like before he even started rapping swimming pools, I'm talking about early Kendrick, before he got on, right? That was the Kendrick that I love. The Kendrick now, the damn Kendrick and the Black Panther soundtrack Kendrick, what do you call it? Kung Fu Kendrick or whatever, Kung Fu Kenny.
I don't know.
I don't like that. I'm be honest. That's not me.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest too. I don't like Kendrick at all. Good. What is it? Good Kid, Mad City. I didn't think that was a great album.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To
Definitely.
Pimp a Butterfly was, in my opinion, was horrible.
It was. It was.
Um, I didn't understand the hype around To Pimp a Butterfly, so
It was
I
boring.
can't speak on Kendrick because I'm gonna be honest, I don't listen to Kendrick, but I will say I think J Cole is better. One, I think he has a better ear for beats. He has a better ear for music. He has a better ability to structure a song. I think I do think that 2014 Forest Hill is classic or borderline classic, like one of the two. Like I really love that album. I I listened to it last week. Like it's like an hour drive for me to get to work. Put on 2014 Forest Hill. I think that's a dope album. I
It
think
is.
he speaks, although him and Kendrick both speaks consciously. I think Cole does it in a way to where it's more relatable and people can hear it, and then they can actually intake what he's saying and they can move
That
on and they can go from that point. But I'm not. I think Cole has a classic. I think Cole should be considered before any of the new guys. I know it's hard to say that with Drake just because of the shit that Drake dropped, but Drake is I'm not gonna say a gimmick rapper. He's a party rapper. And I also think that's the fucking problem with Cole and Drake. The things that Cole and Drake drop is not, Kendrick from the West Coast. He grew up in Compton. He got a little bit of gangster in him, even though he's not a gangster. He'll tell you he's not a gangster. He got a little bit of gangster to rap about. Where Drake and Cole, they don't have those things to rap about.
right.
I saw Kendrick. I mean, not Kendrick, but I saw Cole was getting killed because people found out his mama was white. But I'm like, what the fuck have y'all been listening to? Because he's been
Right.
saying
He's
this from
saying
the jump.
right.
Like he got a damn line where he's like, I'm half white, but I ain't got no Ku Klux past. Like he's been
Right.
telling y'all he's half white. He's been telling y'all his mama is the one that raised him. She's the white woman, and blase, blase, blase. So, I just think like stuff like that is what's keeping Cole from getting the just due that he really deserves
Right.
outside of the rappers circle. Like when you got hip hop heads like us, we give him that credit. But as we can see, you got people who are limited in hip hop like Stats, and they're gonna give the moniker, well, not the, they're gonna give the crown to someone like Kendrick.
Right. And I get it. Like I think people, I don't want to confuse uh commercial Kendrick with older Kendrick, because again, like I said, I got some joints that Kendrick spit on. Like he had a joint RZA produced, the Reagan era joint. That was one of my favorite songs, and he was also on one of Game's albums, and before he actually had his own album, and he killed that. And I felt that I said, man, this kid is coming. This kid is really coming. And again, I think Good Kid, Mad City was great. Was a great album. I think Pimp the Butterfly was kind of weak in my opinion. I feel that Damn was okay. I think it's overstated. I think it's overbloated. I think that people like Kendrick because I don't know why they like to be quite
I'm
honest.
gonna tell you why I think people like Kendrick, and I'm gonna keep it honest, and I think this is a lot with a lot of people. And I'm gonna go back to somebody we did the retro review on Lauryn Hill. I'm gonna go back to her. People like Kendrick because the public said we should like Kendrick.
Yep.
Now, and then I'm gonna listen. And here's the problem when you have your talking points and you trying to debate, people don't listen. So someone just said, and I ain't even gonna call his name. Just say you don't listen to K Dot, bro. But I already said that. I said I don't listen to Kendrick, and I gave my reasons why I don't listen to Kendrick. I just don't think he's that good. I tried, Good Kid, Mad City. It has a couple tracks on there that I like, but it's not bumping to me.
Yeah.
I was introduced to Kendrick with the recipe. The recipe, I think it was like a B side on it. It came out as a B side later on for
Yeah.
Good Kid, Mad City, or whatever. But that's where I was introduced to Kendrick,
Yeah.
and he had the Dr. Dre stamp of approval by that time. So I wasn't on him early or whatever the case may be. But I just like I'm not a fan. Like
Right.
there's a song. I forgot which DJ Khaled album it is, but there's a song and it's Crit, Cole, and Kendrick. Listen, Kendrick went last. He went last for a reason because we can cut that shit off. Like that's just how I felt, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like people like him because the public say we must like Kendrick.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Billboard released their top 10 rappers of all time. Number 7 is Lauryn Hill.
Right.
Stop, man.
It tells
But the public say we must like him.
it tells you a lot. Even when Kendrick had the run and they had, got the Grammy nods and everything, and then I think he got a Pulitzer Prize winner, wasn't he? Like
Yeah,
like
yeah, Pulitzer Prize.
but what am I listening to? Like I'm trying to really figure out where did I go wrong in my listening. When I'm listening to K Dot. And again, I'm not saying that Kendrick is whack. I'm not saying that he's a corny rapper. I'm not saying that he's a bad rapper. I feel like Kendrick is one of those. He reminds me like an Eminem type, right? Dope lyricist, dope MC, but I think that he's a little bit bloated. I think that they boost him up more than what he really is. Like loyalty, loyalty, loyalty. Like that's not me. I don't get into it. You know what I mean? But to each their own, man. I just feel like Cole is much better. I feel that Big Sean is much better. He doesn't get the respect or the credit. But you go listen to Big Sean, you go listen to Kendrick. Totally different.
Well, I say listen to Control and take out the hypeness of us hearing
Yes.
because we was hyped and and I say this all the time, we was hyped because we love competition. We come from that era where I want to listen to you destroy whoever is on the tape with you. I want to listen to you destroy anybody who think they might be coming up. So we love that Kendrick verse, but all he did was name a whole bunch of names.
That's it.
And the sad part is the person that we can give credit to for actually admitting that is fucking Max Kelly.
Yeah.
Like I remember the day after the Control shit came out, it was Max Kellerman and Jamel on First Take. And I want to say Michael Smith was on there too for whatever reason. It was them three. And Michael Smith and Jamel, they going in about how great this Kendrick verse was. And Max like, it's not that good. And when you listen, it's not that good. He just called out a whole bunch of names. He
That's it.
called out a whole bunch of people. And so we were so eager for competition in hip hop because this is when everything was all, it was all shits and giggles. It was like, oh, I love you, bro. I don't want to say nothing wrong about you on tape, blase, blase. And he
Right.
just came out talking shit. But no,
Right.
Big Sean had the best verse on that fucking album.
But I think the public was so hungry for someone to go at Drake at that time. And
Facts.
they thought that Kendrick was really going at Drake and it was going to be a situation where it's going to be a battle between him and Drake. And it wasn't that. I mean, he came back later and said that he really didn't go at Drake. He wasn't really about Drake. He was just throwing stuff out there. You know what I mean? because they thought when he say tuck the soft
Right.
rap or something like that or whatever, he said that wasn't a line for Drake. But the public at that time wanted someone to go at Drake head because Drake again was the top dog, and they like when Mark thought that Drake was gonna get bodied by Meek, and Drake came back and like, yo, how you gonna let the person talking about ghost writing ghost fight the biter? You know what I mean? So it
I
just
know this is totally off the subject, but do the public really want people to go at Drake? Because if you really wanted someone to go at Drake, like people were clowning Pusha, and I ain't get that.
no,
I felt like
I think that it again when you're on top, they want to see you go, they want to see you fall at some point, right? And the whole thing with Pusha, I remember people was going crazy when Pusha dropped the story of Adidon, right? I think that's his name, Adidon or something like that. When Pusha dropped that, everybody went wild. They were like, "Oh, Pusha killed Drake. Pusha killed Drake. Drake is done, or
he did.
whatever." And it was like that for like maybe 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And remember, I told you. Remember, I put the message out there. I said, "Let's see how Pusha do by the end of the week." Heard nothing else after that.
No. I think Pusha had a dope ass, but again, I'm listening to lyrics, and
Yeah,
that's the problem when you go at when someone like Pusha goes at someone like Drake, it's gonna have a different tone because Pusha is never gonna make like something that's gonna be radio friendly. Like the most radio friendly he did, uh, he was talking about moving crack. It's just that it had a Pharrell
right,
beat to it, and so people was and
right,
that's all they heard. They wasn't really listening to him talk
right.
about moving dope.
Right. No,
So
I'm there with you. I'm there with you. I think that the way Drake pretty much sun Pusha in the moment like that because Pusha did have some vicious bars for me. The song itself was disrespectful. It was ridiculous. But at the same time,
that's
again,
Virginia Slims. Let's not forget.
yeah, definitely, yeah, definitely. I mean,
And that's what started it. I feel like Pusha was right. That's why I'm with it.
yeah,
Like,
no,
let's not act like we didn't listen to Biggie uh, get told that, yeah, I fucked your bitch, motherfucker, you fat
yeah.
motherfucker. Like,
Oh no, definitely. Yo, look, I'm not saying that Pusha was wrong for coming at the gate for that. Oh, trust me, he did everything he's supposed to do, and it's a battle. The only thing that threw me off is how the story started to unfold afterwards. You know what I mean? Because then you start hearing like Pusha and Ye, pillow talk or whatever, if you want to call it that, and and
nah, we not gonna call it no goddamn pillow
I,
talk, nigga.
nigga, you the one who told Pusha T like fuck you, Pusha T on live. Remember a couple
I
of
did
months?
not. I didn't say that.
Yes, you did.
I did.
You did. You was drunk.
That
Remember?
was in a different context, though.
Okay, it's fact. All right, I got you. I'm with you. You still said it,
I
but
mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to listen again, if you're going to sponsor these kids, sponsor them. All right, these kids shouldn't be having to try to come up with $150 every week, because they got to pay for a hotel and for travel and shit. You
right.
sponsoring the team, it's called Team Push. Put the money. Now, like I said, my daughter's good. That's fine. But there's other kids, they couldn't make the trip to Philadelphia because they had a leak.
Maybe if you would have partnered with Drake instead of trying to be an enemy, Drake could have given you guys some money to push.
Nigga, chill.
My bad. But all I'm saying is Kanye battled Drake through Pusha in his own way, and I thought that was corny. You know what I mean? I thought that was corny. So, and after that, as you can see, Drake was just poking Kanye over and over till Kanye lost his mind on Twitter one day. He just kept poking him over and over. It was like, yo, he was disrespectful, man. He was like, who do your girl really love? like, come on, man. That's your wife. He got a kid. He got kids with this lady, man. He said, who do your wife really love? Like, come on, Drake. But again, I thought that the way that whole thing transpired, apart from the music itself, I thought everything else was corny. And that's what J. Cole was saying. That's the thing J. Cole said. J. Cole was like, this shit was corny. You know what I mean? But as you notice, Pusha didn't go back to J. Cole. Kanye
He's
didn't say nothing
not.
to J. Cole.
Because Cole is a lyricist. And
Right,
and
right,
Cole doesn't he can't hide behind the fact of, oh, somebody is writing rap. No, ain't nobody writing Cole raps. That's the
not at all.
second thing. The third thing is he's seen Cole already touch motherfuckers lightly. Like
Facts.
and that goes for even his mans. Like Wale is his mans. Like
Right.
they like this, but he touched
Right.
Wale loosely. And even though to me it wasn't a diss, it was just like some yo, come on, bro, get your shit together.
Yeah.
You good out here. Act
Uh,
like you good.
right now. Yeah. I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
but
Tight.
he still touched him, and
Right.
he touched Kanye not so loosely. You know what I'm saying? Like he gave him a little smack.
Right.
Like bitch, where my money at? Type smack.
Right. Right. And then he said in his song that he's backing Drake, and no one said anything. No one dropped no diss, no subliminals, no nothing got cold. So I say that to say this. If you got all of that energy towards Drake, have that same energy towards somebody who's defending Drake at that point, which is Cole. So that brings everything full circle. I still think that Cole should get the same respect that we give Kendrick. I think that Cole is more talented, in my opinion. I think as a lyricist, as an artist, I think that Cole has a lot more to say than Kendrick. But he doesn't get that respect. I think that Raekwon. I'm thinking about Raekwon right now. I'm thinking about
That's
Jadakiss.
weird. Don't tell nobody else that shit. That's
No,
weird.
I'm trying to make a point. Jadakiss and Raekwon, if you think about Raekwon, All the Biffy Cuban Links is that signature classic album. So we consider Raekwon as one of the greats. But Raekwon did not have an album closely related to On the Biffy Cuban Links. Although On the Biffy Cuban Links Part 2 to me was a dope album, it still didn't live up to On the Biffy Cuban Links. I don't think that Jadakiss had dropped an album that can live up to any album because he hasn't dropped that one album that we can say this is it. The closest we got to that was Kiss the Game Goodbye, and it still wasn't that. And even if you go back and listen to the Fabulous and Jadakiss verses, I think Jadakiss had an interview earlier last week when he was still talking about it and how he just dusted off Fabulous. It makes sense now why they were paired up against each other because Fabulous never made that jump. He never made that leap. Great featured artist, killed the mixtape scene, same like Jadakiss did, but never dropped that classic album. Jada is a little bit different, and he showed you in that battle that his features alone can carry any battle any day of the week. And that's all features, not songs, Dre, but features.
Yeah.
But that alone is hard to make him one of the GOATs, or make him top five dead or alive. That's my
No,
close.
I agree. Jada is not top five in my opinion. Like I said, I have no problem with anyone putting him in the top five. Jada has brought a lot to the game. And
Facts.
then
Facts.
something that we had talked about all night. Jada voice is the ultimate instrument, and I think
Facts.
that's also something that gives him a slight edge and that makes him be able to say I'm top five dead or alive.
Yeah.
It's because his voice. Like people, I don't give a fuck what you say, but some people voices just sells when they get on the song as a rapper, which is not supposed to. Like when, like listen, man. Anytime I'm damn driving, I hear it's Pimp C, bitch.
Yeah.
Like that shit ignites me, man. Like so he has that voice that I would compare to Pimp C. It's not the same, but it's just a voice that really gets you there. Or when you hear that, Rick Ross come on, like it's something different about their voices, and I think that's what helps Jada out. Also, I think
Agree.
I think J Cole is the I don't know how to phrase this because we know how I feel about Crit. I think Crit is the best of today's game, but I think Cole is the one that should be championed the best of today's game. But it's going to go to Drake, and then it's going to go to Kendrick. But I think it definitely should be J. Cole. I think J. Cole is really that deal. I
Yeah.
think 2014 Forest Hill is what put him at that upper echelon, in my opinion.
I think J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake, and Big Sean. That's the class. And that's the class after, you know, the Nas, the Jays, and those guys. So that's the next class after that. I think Lil Wayne is right before those guys, if you want to give him that. But that was the new wave that we were supposed to have. And we got it. I think Big Sean is not getting the respect that he should get. Of course, like you said, unless he's, ass. Unless he's not dropping
Yeah,
that no one else is listening. But Detroit too was a great album, and I think Big Sean got some more stuff on the way, man.
Most definitely.
More to come.
But so, yo, we finna wrap it up, man. Once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. For those that tune in and watching the replay or whatever the case may be, listen, this is not a cookie cutter hip hop show. So as you see, we went from Griselda, we went Benny the Butcher, we talked about Jada, we talked about Cole. We really dive into hip hop because hip hop I don't necessarily want to speak for Sean, but outside of family and kids and close friends, hip hop is our first love when it comes to talking about hobbies or things of that nature. I'm a DJ. Sean is a hip hop connoisseur. We really love this. We appreciate hip hop, and we always listening for hip hop. We're listening for real hip hop. You know what I'm saying? We listen for shit that's gonna make you think what they saying. We listen to shit that's gonna make you think who the hell they talking to, how they piecing this together. That's what Sean and I do. We talk about hip hop on a constant, as well as with the guys, which puts me to, hey, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you check out the guys podcast on Wednesdays. Tomorrow, because Merv is in Cabo, there will not be a Merv and Stack show, but we will be getting back to y'all very, very soon with that.
Yeah.
Once again, happy birthday to the homie. He's out in Mexico right now, celebrating his 40th. So big ups to you, my guy. Sean, what you got for the people?
Yo, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Those who rocking with us on a Monday night. Check us out again on Wednesday. We're going to have another retro review. We'll be posting that really soon. And hey, continue to grow with us. Appreciate you.
All right. Salute, my brother.
Look, brother. Peace.